It's become a badge of honour amongst their support to not watch Scotland. Staunch points for many, pure and simple.
Yeah, well, Robert's bang on a banana.
What did you say?
Robert's bang on a banana. Well, Robert's bang on a banana. Bang on a banana. That's the point I was about to make.
Bang on the banana.
Bang on the banana, bang on the banana, bang on the banana, bang on the banana. Bang on the banana, bang on the banana.
That's the last time. I promise. That's the last time I play that. Hello, everybody. I'm so unprofessional, innit? Hello, everybody. Welcome along to your Friday Night Rabble here on the Rangers Rabble podcast. Connor, how are you?
Hi,
Do you want me to tell you how you are, Connor?
Bang on the banana.
Go on.
Bang on the banana. Bang on.
Aye, Cartman will tell me. Aye, no, I'm all right. Aye, not bad. Good to see that. It's the bang on the banana is still all the rage. Almost a week later, and it's no died down. I get the feeling that that'll be etched on my gravestone. I think.
Probably. Alan, how are you?
Highly amused at that intro, so I'm good tonight.
And Lewis, I think that's the first time you've heard that.
It's the first time. I mean, I've not been on the pod in like 6 weeks, and you've stuck me right in with that right before the show, man. Oh, I was not expecting that. That's fantastic. Fair play, Martin.
How have you been, Lewis?
I've been no bad. I had a wisdom tooth to get took out last week, so been in a bit of pain with that, but starting to die down now. So
Good. Right, well, I thought I would start this week, this Friday, I should say, with something a little different. As I would imagine that most people that tune in will have heard. Ali McCoist sat down with probably one of the greatest managers of all time, Sir Alex Ferguson, and they had a nice, I think it's about a 25, 26-minute chat just about Alex Ferguson's career. But Ferguson spoke about something that I would like us to talk about. And in fact, do you know what I'll do? I'll just play the 50-second clip. We can hear it and then we can discuss it.
Well, when I was a player at Rangers and I left under, with the cloud a bit, but I took out of there and never left my home life. Expectation. Everywhere I went, there was expectation. Creating an expectation for the players, for the fans, because your job really is to get footballers who send fans home happy.
It's amazing that. It's amazing that. And just to back that up, I was lucky enough, as you know, to play with Rangers for the best part of 15 years. And I didn't appreciate the expectation till I went somewhere else where there wasn't as great expectation.
Of course, yeah.
And what you try and do is try and get those expectation levels up wherever you go after that.
Right.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing, expectation, isn't it?
It really is,
So, the big thing I took for that, Alan, and I don't know if I'm going to toot Rangers' horn here, but Rangers are responsible for Sir Alex Ferguson being who he is.
I think that goes without saying. I mean, we've always known that. But seriously, it's something that's a pillar of this club of ours. It's always been that way. It's always been built on expectation of wanting to be the best and be the best that we can be. I spoke when I was on the podcast last week. Some clubs find it something to celebrate, getting to cup finals. I don't. Not Rangers. The expectancy, the pressure at Rangers is something that some people can't handle. We see players that come into a club just can't handle it. But that pressure and that intensity at Rangers is why we all love this club. And it's done Alex Ferguson the worldly good, building that into him at such a young age, like it's done with many, many players that went on to do great things after leaving Rangers.
And Lewis, I know that was something that you were, it's a hero of yours, obviously. But But Gallant's saying, what's our expectations now? Finish second. Absolute joke how the standards that built our club have been allowed to diminish. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to play that clip, Lewis. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it certainly feels like it.
It's felt like that for a while now, unfortunately. I mean, I think we all hoped that after 55, that was going to be the corner, that was going to be the turning point, that we started to become ourselves again. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And pressure's a funny thing because, as the saying goes, pressure makes diamonds, but it also makes rubble. And it has to come hand in hand with talent, because you can be the most determined, monster mentality athlete about, but if you've not got the talent, then what's the point in having the mentality? You're only ever going to get so far. And unfortunately, Rangers don't have a pool that we used to. And I think a lot of fans of an older generation quite rightly struggle that this is now the state of Rangers Football Club. It's a bit easier for myself because I didn't get to see as much success. So I'm able to assimilate a wee bit easier to how Rangers are now compared to what we used to be. But it's certainly a sad state of affairs, and it certainly tugs on my personal heartstrings hearing a man like Sir Alex Ferguson speak so highly of what Rangers used to be instead of what Rangers are today. Because it really should be how we are today. We should still have these standards, and I think unfortunately they've dropped too far.
Is that a fair comment, Connor? Yes and no. Does the situation that we've been in over the years kind of lend itself to maybe not a drop in standards, but a drop in realization, or whatever the correct terminology is?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I don't think the fan standards have really dropped all that much. I think the fans still have that level of expectation, and so they should at the end of the day. But I think definitely, the last 12 years has massively eroded that. And listen, you have to factor in circumstances of that time as well. It clearly had a lot of what happened not occurred. Had we not been booted into the third division and had to build our way back up, then I think certainly, we would not be quite in this position today, because the ability would have been there to keep building and keep maintaining on where we were at the time. You've got to remember at that time as well, when it all sort of kicked off with the erosion, was Walter Smith retiring and Ali McCoy being seen as the prodigy, and he was going to be the man to take over the reins and take us into the next few years. He was the future, and he never really got that opportunity at the level that he probably had earned the right to have, given the amount of years he sat under Walter Smith. But that obviously creates an issue for the club in terms of building your way back there. And I think in some ways we have done. I think you can't not look at the fact that you go through all of that and it takes you, 10 years to find yourself having won the league title again, having got to a European final, having won at that point, I think, the Scottish Cup as well. That is all good stuff, and that should be applauded. The issue is we then don't take advantage from those situations and we rest on our laurels, and that's what's happened at the club. They've almost accepted that there's maybe some inbuilt excuses for why certain things can't happen or we can't move as quickly as we'd like in the right direction. And certainly I feel, and some might disagree, I do think Steven Gerrard brought a bit of that mentality back. He got a lot, don't get me wrong, he got time to build and he needed it, but he had inbuilt that mentality. You only need to look at that last season, at his tenure, his last full season, and people can talk about, well, there's no fans and all the rest of it and COVID, and that's a fair point people can make, but we were absolute animals that season, mentality-wise. It's why we didn't lose a single game in the league. Okay, the Cup's slightly disappointing, probably should have won a treble, and that's about the only miss for that campaign. But to do that and break records for clean sheets and Gerrard brought that back, and then since he's left, we've let it slide again. And it's difficult. I think what Alex Ferguson says is it shows what a club like Rangers can do, and I still think anybody who plays for Rangers even now, or as a manager at Rangers, I still think that they will be better off for that experience even now, because it will open their eyes to a much, a high pressured world. Even Ali McCoy said that after 15 years at Rangers, he leaves and goes to, was it Kilmarnock, I think, and realises the level of expectation wasn't the same there, and how you try and keep that going and generate that when you go elsewhere. And so it's difficult right now. There's no getting away from that. But I think with the right decision making, the right people at the top, we can certainly get ourselves right back into that mentality.
Is there anything wrong, Alan, with saying that, look, we've looked at what the board have done over the last few years, it's been ranked, they have set us back. Is it a drop in standards to say that we'll accept a rebuild season, we'll accept a season where we might not win the league, but we might not even win a cup, but we'll accept it if it means that the following season we will be competitive, we will be going for a league title, we will be going for cups? Is that dropping your standards, or has that been realistic?
I think there's a balance here, I think in order
It's an aye or a no. See this, you, Lewis and Connor sitting on the fence, it's a balance, it's a this. Is it realistic? Or is it dropping standards, Alan? You've only got one answer. I'm only giving you one answer.
It's realistic, but you've got to qualify and answer like that. You ask fishy questions like that, then you've got to qualify and answer. You've got to accept that and to understand that you're going to go maybe a year or two no competing for trophies. You've got to see the signs that you're actually building. You've got to see signs of progress. You've got to see signs of the right decisions being made. Connor, you were spot on. Steven Gerrard did bring a lot of these standards back. We had an edge test that we hadn't had in maybe 10 years or so under Gerrard, and when we didn't capitalise on it. Possibly had the board sort of gambled after 55 and made sure we got a couple of big signings that summer. We'd have got Champions League football, we'd have won a second title, and then we'd have really kicked on from there. I know the board clearly pushed to get 55, and then balked to pushing any more. But I do think it's realistic to understand that you're going to go a year or two and no win trophies, but the aim's got to be the same. Even during a rebuild, you've got to be aiming and still trying to compete.
The thing is, Martin, just to come in on that, it isn't about, we just accept it as is. It's about you accept it if you can see that we're going in the right direction, there's a level of improvement. So again, and I hate to harp back on it, but looking at Gerrard's tenure when he took over for Pedro Caixinha, you could see, although we had those drop-offs after the winter break that caused us problems, you could see year on year there was gradual improvement. You felt like we were getting closer. Now, doesn't necessarily mean we were convinced that we were absolutely going to stop the 10. No, it was a concern, of course it was, but you felt we were just taking small steps closer. Undoubtedly, the season that got curtailed because of COVID, we were 13 points behind in the league at the time that happened. That might have changed, that we might have clawed that back, could have got wider, and if it had got bigger, then Gerrard might have found himself out the door. But as I say, it is about just seeing gradual progression. So one thing Gerrard did that we've not done since, for example, is he knew how to beat Celtic. He knew how to get results against them, and not just, we keep being told basically every time we do get a result against Celtic how it doesn't matter. Even when we have actually beat them in cup semi-finals and stuff like that, which clearly are games that matter. But when you find that blend, then you're at least able to show that we're competing with them. We are able to beat them. There's just fine-tuning needed. There's additional things we can bring in to improve it. Then fans.
Well, Gallant's saying that Evo Knievel couldn't jump the gap now.
I don't buy that at all. I think Celtic have been very fortunate in a lot of ways as much as anything else. I mean, how lucky are Celtic that they get, first of all, somebody like Ange Postecoglou rocks up and does what he did and has all the connections he had to go and bring in these players for the continent. Of course, financially correct, financially the gap is massive and that's what's allowed them to do a lot of business. But also, how fortunate can you be that when Ange Postecoglou leaves and then you're in a bit of bother going, who's going to take over? Brendan Rodgers just happens to be free at that point in time and is happy to come back in the door. Because let's be honest, if Brendan Rodgers hadn't took it, there's every chance that Celtic would have went down another sort of experimental route, like somebody like a Postecoglou again, that might or might not have worked. So, as I say, I think you're probably parts luck, parts good decisions and quality, and it creates that. The situation right now, of course, they are ahead, but it's not an unassailable gap. And I'm not saying, somebody in the comments telling me to stop saying lucky. I'm not saying Celtic are lucky. What I'm saying is that there have been moments where they have got a bit of luck, just as in the past there's moments we got luck. You can't, as I say, and I don't want to harp on it, but you can't deny that it is at least good timing that you lose one very, very good manager and you're able to just bring in another good manager straight away because he's available. If Brendan Rodgers hadn't been sacked for Leicester City, Celtic wouldn't have been able to pay to bring him back to the club. So that's what I mean by that. But look,
no, but they're also able to pay him £3 million a year.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he would also have been chased in the summer had we no shut bed last year.
Yeah, exactly, and I totally agree. What I'm saying is it's parts luck, small parts of luck that have happened. 98% of it is very good decisions that they have made, and it pains me to say that, and bad decisions that we've made. I'm not getting away from that. But that other wee 2%, that other wee tiny bit of luck here and there helps you as well. That's all I'm saying. Now, I think we can call the gap back. Whether we've got the right people in the job right now, well, there's almost nobody in a bloody job when it comes to board level right now, so that's something we need to fix. But we're early in this campaign. Okay, it's 15 points right now, and we'll come on and discuss later. Either Celtic or Aberdeen have to drop points this weekend, so we have an opportunity to call some of that gap back on one or both.
See, just the fact that we have to
winning
put
games
that in there, though. See, just the fact that we have to say Celtic or Aberdeen are going to drop points this weekend, so we can claw some back.
Aberdeen have had an amazing start. We've had a couple of, all things considered, actually, we've only lost one game, and that was to Celtic. We've lost one and drawn one. We've won every other game. In that aspect, and even in Europe, we only lost one game in Europa League and we've won one. So actually, in that aspect, results-wise, it's not been terrible. So come on, yes, we should have been better against Celtic, and yes, we should have been better on the opening day against Hearts. And we've had a couple of stinking performances that we've managed to wrestle results out of. Since then, nobody's disputing that, and we have at length spoke about it. But if we keep winning games between now and January when we play them again, all you can hope for is that somebody does you a favour. That's just the way it is. We can't control what happens in their games.
No, we can't.
See, Connor, you were saying about Celtic being a wee bit lucky. I think the argument that a lot of fans would make from our side of Glasgow would be how much we've needed the luck to be there compared to how much Celtic have needed the luck. Celtic only needed the luck last year, that's it. Because see, if you look at the rest of their managerial appointments, it's like 7 seasons of utter success. And it's no fortunate that they went to go Ange Postecoglou. That's because they've got a competent board that done, good enough research to look at a guy that would have come in and absolutely revolutionised this league. Like, he was just quintessential to just absolutely dominate and destroy.
He was quintessential. Lewis disappears because somebody from the comments took him right out and he's jumped back in. So you'll need to start for quintessential, Lewis.
Quintessential dominance, I think, was my saying there. And we're on a run of certainly 2 failing managers and possibly a current 3rd failing manager, because at the end of the day, whether we lose 1 game or 70 games, the 1 game that we've dropped, that we're failing right now because we're actually 3rd best. We're not even 2nd best. And I think that's the difference. It's Celtic make the right decisions 90% of the time. Rangers made it 30% of the time.
Right, that's the 3rd segue I've had that I've not been able to have because somebody else has jumped in. So I'm jumping straight in here and I'm coming straight back to you, Lewis. You're talking about making the right decisions. Would the right decision be bringing back Ryan Kent for January?
See, you've get me the worst person on the panel, honestly.
I put it out. Brian posted it in our WhatsApp group last night from that Eurofoot Twitter page. So I retweeted it as a joke, and I just says, just don't, right? And now everybody's, I don't know if people would have been talking about it anyway, don't get me wrong. It's nothing to do with the fucking, the rabble, pardon my language. But now everybody's talking about it. For me, it would be a grave mistake, Lewis.
I mean, realistically, it would be very, very silly. I think he would demand too much in wages. There's no guarantee that he would come in the right headspace. He's spent 18 months just being treated like absolute dog shit. But listen, he was probably advised this. You go out to Turkey, that's the chance you take. They don't treat footballers very well out there. And that's exactly what's happened to him. So in reality, it would be horrific. But in my heart, I would absolutely take him back.
Why?
In seconds.
Why in your heart?
Well, I look at the left wing situation, which I would imagine where he would play. Our current best player is probably Bayrami, and he's playing out of position on the left wing because we have two other left wingers that can't keep fit. And when they are fit, they're inconsistent, and Cortez and Matondo. And Ryan Kent's a left winger. He's a free agent. I think the only bit of reality here is that Clement's comments to me seem like they're at least going to investigate the possibility of this happening. I feel like if he had no plans of even looking into Ryan Kent's situation, he would have just rubbished it off straight away. What he said was basically, I like the player, I know how good he is, I've tried to get him in the past, and that's it. He's obviously not going to come out and say we've approached Ryan Kent's representatives to see if he's interested in coming back to Rangers. And that's another bit as well. We don't have a clue if Ryan Kent would even want to come back. It didn't end on the greatest terms. So it's very unlikely. Me personally, I'd love to see him back. But I know it's probably the right decision.
He kind of did hint though, Alan, in his press conference, didn't he? Not a hint. I don't. Maybe that's unfair.
Hint might be a strong word, but as Lewis said, if he'd no interest whatsoever, he would have shot it down. All very well saying he doesn't want to talk about other players, and then goes on to talk about him anyway. That he knows all about him and he tried to sign him before. Ryan Kent's barely kicked a ball in the last 18 months. Probably even longer than that, because his last season he did nothing either. But if he came back in the right headspace and fitted into our sort of new wage structure that we want to employ, then he's a million times better than Václav Černý. He's a million times better than Rabbi Matondo. So is he better than the options that we've got? 100% he is. Can we guarantee he's in the right headspace? That's probably the biggest challenge. So
how much, Alan, is that going to cost us per week for his wages to not be guaranteed what kind of headspace he's in?
It really depends what he's wanting. He's went over and made
He's not coming up here for a play piece.
No, he's not. But he's not going to come back here and get offered what he was getting paid before. The club are clearly bringing down the wage bill and getting rid of high earners. We've seen all the hassle and over Yanis Hadji's contract till that's been resolved. We're clearly not wanting to pay people the high end 20 odd grand. So if Ryan Kent wants to come and accept a deal that fits into a pay structure, if Ryan Kent convinces the manager that he's going to come in and put his shoulder to the wheel, then he's a better option than what we've got. But
it's just
Ryan Kent's got to do a lot to convince the manager and the staff if they are indeed interested.
For me, Connor, it's just an absolute no-go. It was literally a joke that I put on social media. I totally agree with Thomas. People had to have short memories. He would go multiple games doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. He disappeared in the big games. When he started off so well, and you've seen what he done in Dortmund, how good he was in Dortmund, you've seen how good he was against Celtic. and then he just absolutely disappeared off the face of the earth. And and again, folks, he cost us £7 million, and we get zero back from him.
Yeah, totally. And that's the issue there, Ryan Kent. Listen, Ryan Kent, when he was at his best, was
Mhm.
brilliant.
Mhm.
Nobody can deny that he has got the talent there. But how often he would disappear is a massive concern. I always found astonishing, actually. I remember back when the Europa League final happened and Aaron Ramsey was the one getting all the stick for the fans because he missed the penalty. Nobody seemed to acknowledge the fact that Ryan Kent missed a sitter at the end of extra time. Good goalkeeping, you could argue, but he was played in by Kemar Roof and slid the ball in straight at the goalkeeper when he should have scored and won us that game as well, and he got away with that.
I think Kenny Miller's retired now, by the way, Martin.
You are?
I think Kenny Miller's retired.
Oh, where you go. Sorry. Don't cut across corner for a comment like that. Jeez, oh.
And yeah, some people in the comments saying it was a good save. I'm not saying it wasn't a good save, but when you're put in like that 2 yards for goal, you probably should score. That aside, though, look at his last season for me. That tells you all you need to know. His headspace hasn't been right for such a long time. His last season, he down tools, and Rangers fans, all of us were screaming for him to go out the door. We'd had enough. It wasn't just him. By no means was he the only one. That's why there was a few that went out the door. Him and Morelos were probably the worst culprits in terms of down and tools that season. And I don't care what anybody says, I will die on this hill with Wolf. Even when he came out to say his farewell, to turn up looking like a Glasgow Ned and a cap and a cracky is slightly disrespectful. Every other player turned up suited and booted in the proper manner that you should do, and he didn't. If the other players had done the same thing, then it wouldn't have been a problem because I said, well, that's what the cover happened with. The fact that all the other players didn't do that and he did, it just kind of felt like he's done with us, we have done with him. Bringing him back, whatever wages we'd have to pay him, I just don't know that it would be the best choice. Also, and we had a discussion earlier, Martin, about this. We also cannot keep looking backwards. We can't. We need to be trying to look forward, looking at bringing in new talent that can actually help the cause. Whether whether Kent could or not is, for me, almost irrelevant at this point. I just don't think it would be the right decision at all.
I just seen Lewis shake his head. Lewis, before you come back in, Connor.
The banana. Bang on the banana.
Lewis, you were shaking your head there quite vehemently.
I understand why people think it's disrespectful, and I think there is a bit of disrespect there on the fact that he was the only one to do it. But I'll put the point to the panel that, see, if it was Scott Arfield that done it, nobody would have whispered a word.
But Scott Arfield wouldn't have done it, though.
But that's not my point, right? If you take Philip Hollander, then didn't play a game for 2 years, right? Then went on the next season that he left us to go and play consistent football. And because he turned up in a Rangers trackie, it's fine. But because Ryan Kent, who was injured at the time, by the way, as well, just turned up in a trackie and a hat and a bag, and I think it's just a really, really silly thing to hang on to. And there's a lot of stuff in about Ryan Kent. And listen, you're right, he did go long spells without contributing or performing. But it's as if people think he was garbage all the time. Like Brian put a comment in there that he didn't have an assist in 18 months. I mean, that's just simply untrue. I think he might mean a goal. He probably didn't score in 18 months, but creatively Ryan Kent was absolutely outstanding. And I think it's something that you see by Rami now as well, who should have 6 assists his name, but he's actually only got 1 because he's got Dessers in front of him. Ryan Kent was every season over 100 chances created in this league. There was nobody, including anybody in Celtic's roster, that was anywhere near him. He should have had 35 assists every single season. So creatively, that's not the question. But goal scoring wise, very, very poor. And
I take umbrage with the word roster. I'm not a fan of that, Lewis. We're in the UK, man. It's squad.
As a bit of WWE.
It was a bit.
Apologies. But it tugs at my heartstrings because he's that player that I latched on to when I was growing up watching Rangers. Because at his best, he was absolutely divine to watch in full flow. It was just we didn't see it often enough, and I do come to terms with realistically this would be a horrific signing, but I would do it in a heartbeat.
The big thing, I suppose, Alan, is Ian Thompson, who, by the way, is on holiday right now. And if his missus is tuning in to this at any point, I did not ask him to watch and put comments in while he was on holiday. It's got nothing to do with me. But Alan, Ian's saying it. Remember, this is a rebuilding a new team, not the old one. Yeah, okay, I understand that, right? But to put it into context, if we were bringing back somebody who had the caliber of, in the olden days, an Ali McCoist, right? If you're doing a rebuild and you're bringing back somebody with that caliber who has that connection to the football club, I don't see the issue with bringing somebody like that into a team of, well, youngsters really, to try and help them bed in. Is Ryan Kent that kind of player who can come back in with a bit of experience and maybe help Cortez, help Ross McCausland? Is he that type of player?
I'm not sure we've seen a great deal of leadership for Ryan Kent to suggest he could come in and fill a sort of void left by the likes of Ryan Jack and Scott Arfield and Stephen Davis and the like.
Stephen Davis, Alan, that's a perfect example. That's somebody who came back to Rangers, knew that he wasn't going to play all the time, was still good enough to play when he could, but he was there for the dressing room. Ryan Kent's still only 27, and he's been off it for years. That's the only point I'm making. This is a rebuild now. This is about looking forward.
Definitely, but Ryan Kent is now on a free transfer. Is not going to cost money other than wages. Which certainly makes him an attractive option for a club. Now, possibly it's part of the reason that we all criticised Ryan Kent's performances. He was getting nothing in terms of support for behind him. Borna Barisic dropped off a cliff as well. Does Ryan Kent playing on the left wing of our team right now with either Yefty or young Robbie Fraser make him a better player, give him more support? We often talk about the Tav struggles on the right hand side because he's got nothing in front of him. The shape of team that we're playing relies on people working in tandem on the wings. I think the biggest question on Ryan Kent, well, the first question is, does the manager want him? But after that, the biggest question is, where his head's at. Is he ready to come and sort of right the wrongs of how he ended his career at Rangers? And people jump on and say, we spent £7 million on him and get nothing back. We didn't get a transfer fee back, but he was integral in us getting to the European final and getting to win a title. So we certainly got some value out of signing Ryan Kent.
Can I just show you, Alan, where exactly the fan base is at right now? Ian's saying that's a weak argument, Alan. You should know better. And then directly underneath him, Calvin is saying, "Good point, Alan." So I think that shows you exactly where the fan base is.
Do you not think that's Rangers fans in a nutshell? But two Rangers fans on a desert island, with 3 supporters clubs, and
about 18 podcasts.
Probably. But I think we've spent a long time talking about Ryan Kent, probably wild speculation at this point. And even if we did bring him in, we can't kick a ball for 3 months anyway.
What the manager did mention at his press conference, now, Conor, me and you spoke a couple hours ago, and you said you hadn't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
No, but I've seen his comments about Ryan Kent.
We've moved on for that now.
If that's what you're going to ask me, I assume that's what you're going to ask me.
No. We're past that now. We're well past that.
Well, why? I tell you, why don't? I mean, it might be an oval for you, but why don't you just tell me what he said, then ask me the question?
Because I can't remember. He was asked a question about the youth, which we talk about all the time.
Yes.
And I think the reporter, Scotland reporter, the guy who was asking the questions rhymed off about 6 or 7 youth players. And Clement effectively said, well, it's up to them to show me that they are good enough. And then he was hit back with a question, and then he kind of, you would need to listen to it, right? But he kind of said, No, they get the opportunity to do this here and do this there. I'm sorry, that's where I've got to kind of, Connor, move away from the manager a wee bit and go, how are they ever supposed to get the opportunity to prove to you that they're good enough?
Well, exactly. That's the issue for me. You can't. And again, look, context is key, and I'm sure there's more to it. But you can't say that the players have got to
In
prove
fact, Connor,
themselves.
can I just put something else to you about that as well, and then you've actually got more basis to answer the question. What he also said was, he said that in other teams who are happy to finish mid-table, they've got more relevance to be able to put in players. He actually made that argument that we've spoke about a lot about other clubs that have got the means who don't have the same what's the
Mhm.
word, Connor? What's the word? Pressures. Same
Pressure.
pressures
Impressive.
as what they have by finishing mid-table. When I heard that, I went, well, that's it for the youth players then.
Well, I get that, and I understand to a degree where he's coming from, but I think you have to find a way of giving players an opportunity. You can't prove yourself to a manager if he doesn't give you the opportunity to do it, right? And you look 3 years. I mean, his reference point when he talks about teams with less pressures and finishing mid-table, whilst I get to a degree, there's plenty of other examples of teams who still have pressures on them and have been able to do it. Look at Man City; they've been able to filter players through their youth academy into their team for years, and they're still doing it with people like Rico Lewis. Look at, and I hate saying it again, I hate to bring them up, but look at Celtic. Kieran Tierney came through their academy, 25 million quid. Callum McGregor comes through their academy, is now the club captain, was the captain at one point of Scotland as well, the national team.
However, that was done when we were basically out the leagues and not in the equation
Yeah,
when Celtic done it.
but
Man
it doesn't-
City, Connor, have got a pool of about 14,000
But
youth
it
players.
doesn't. We were out the league, yes, but it doesn't mean Celtic didn't still have pressure to win the league. They still did, particularly.
They were always going to win the league.
But
Always
when
going to
Callum
win the league.
McGregor was first breaking into the squad under, I think, Ronnie Dyler, Aberdeen were actually closer to him than he'd liked. It's one of the reasons Dyler had to go, because despite the fact he won the league, he only beat Aberdeen by 9 points, which people viewed as poor, because that's 9 points is basically, if Aberdeen beat them in 2 games, it's a draw, which doesn't happen. So the point is that other teams have found ways to do it. I'm not saying, like, nobody's saying you throw it, let's just have youth players come in and play the B team every week. But what's wrong with playing one or two of them? Ross McCausland has had that opportunity, and I believe he's actually looking better this season than he did last season. But his first season really impressed in these early points, and so it's about that opportunity. Nathan Patterson, he got an opportunity out of circumstance, not planned, but out of pure circumstance, because James Tavernier got injured uncharacteristically. And what he done, he came in, got his opportunity, grabbed it with both hands, and we made 12 million quid off him. Which, you can argue now, looking where his careers went, whether or not he might have preferred to stay in hindsight. But 12 million quid offer given that opportunity, that's what's on offer if you get it right. Now, you won't always get it right. Not every youth prospect to work out. We looked at Alex Lowry for a long time as the next Nathan Patterson, the next prospect. That's kind of switched now, and it is now McCausland, because Lowry had his time at Hearts and that didn't really work out. Still in the academy, but it's probably going to leave next year. So, there's talented players there, and we've seen glimpses of them. And it's about, as a manager, I think it's about finding the right games to play them in, the right time to give them that opportunity. And so I get that point. Timing is key. But I feel like we go around in circles with the youth debate. Do you, don't you? You're almost damned if you do and damned if you don't, to a degree, I think. But obviously, you've got to identify the ones that are ready for it. I would argue quite strongly that, having seen glimpses of him before he got injured, Zach Lovelace looked like a player who was ready for the opportunity, got injured. That happened to him. McCausland got the opportunity, clearly was ready for it, and is absolutely ran with it. So it can be done, but it has to be done in the right way.
Yeah, it has to be done in the right way, Lewis. But Connor mentions there about, when we weren't there and Celtic brought through Kieran Tierney and Callum McGregor and probably a few others. I go back to the days, I can't remember the top league. I didn't focus on the top league because everybody knew what was going to happen. Everybody knew it was done. I don't know about people outside Rangers fans, because I never really spoke to many about football at the time, because I was still quite raging about the whole scenario. But everybody knew if the situation was switched, we'd probably have a central defender or a central midfielder that's played 300-400 games that came through the youth academy. It's all well and good playing them when you know you're going to win. It was just the way that the manager then kind of backtracked. It felt like he backtracked during his presser about how difficult it is when you've got pressures to win games and win leagues, etc., etc., etc. And it's the first time I've ever really heard him say that, because we speak about the youth quite a lot, Liz.
I mean, the youth talk regarding Rangers has been, you know, a hot topic on the Rabble since I've started. You know, the last couple of years it's been, you know, a hot topic of conversation on how, to be honest, the two Old Firm teams in recent years have been very, very poor at bringing through youth. I mean, you look at Celtic. I think his name is Daniel Kelly, the young midfielder last year. Scored a couple of goals. Come on, looked like a really good player, and he's just been sold to Millwall at 18 years of age. And you wonder, well, why is he not getting a chance? Because Celtic then go and spend £9 million on a 20-year-old Belgian. Well, you've got a guy from your own nation that is now away somewhere else plying his trade in a lower division because you didn't give him the opportunity. And if you look at like the likes of Kieran Tierney and Callum McGregor, who were fortunate due to the circumstances of coming through, the same Nathan Patterson, there is not one player from the Old Firm team that you can sit and go, that manager's really, really developed him, really, really brought him through, gave him a chance, and he's now a first team regular, and then he goes on for £20 million. Ross McCausland's in the exact same boat because he wouldn't have got anywhere near this first team. If you listen to anybody that knows anything about the youth team, Ross McCausland was no somebody that Rangers held any high regard on. Might be unfair, but you know,
No,
Zach
we tried to loan him out about 3 months before it. We sent him on a trial to Holland, and the team in Holland went, nah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's quite interesting. You know, it's really poor. I think that the country itself and the SFA do not help. It's really no a good environment for youth football in general. It really needs a massive overhaul in Scotland as a whole. But the two Old Firm teams are not helping one bit. And see if Lennon Miller was in the Rangers youth team, do you know where he would be? He would be in Bailey Rice's position because he wouldn't be given a chance despite how good he is.
Mm-hmm. Please don't get me started. Please don't get me started.
Well, the thing is, Martin, and
can I just do a wee bit of promotion? Well, we've still got quite a few people watching before they all tune out. Can I just do a bit of promotion? Is that all right? Please do like, share, and subscribe to the show if you can. The more likes we get, and then, by the way, and I've been doing loads of research. See, the longer that you watch, then the more that YouTube share it. It's called average view duration. So if you tune in your last 60 seconds and bugger off, YouTube doesn't share the video. See, if you don't like it, right, just keep it on in the background, stick it on mute, and just leave it there and forget about it, and then come back to it. So the longer that you guys watch, the more that YouTube share it, the more that you like it, the more that YouTube share it. Gallant, will you let it go with the Rabble pint glasses? I will get to it when I get to it. I'm trying my best, man. I've got cups, I've got travel mugs, I'll get to it. I'm only kidding, Gallant. I love you, really. I will get to it as soon as I can. And also, of course, as you all know, we're full-time now, so we totally rely on your support. So if you're in a position to and you can, we would greatly appreciate it if you joined as a member. You can do so by clicking the links in the description. You can either become a member on our YouTube channel or you can become a member on our Patreon. And Connor, just very, very quickly, I'm going to do Gallant in, by the way. Although, can I get done for saying that? Because this is on the internet. I was being sarcastic, right? But Connor, the membership content, more and more is going out all the time. Back me up.
Yes, yeah. We're getting more and more content out the door constantly. You'll have seen last night one of the new shows, the VAR review show, just the second episode of that went out. If you haven't already watched it, you're a member. Do check it out. And if you're not a member, sign up and watch it. It's that simple. But more and more is going out, and there's more coming up in the pipeline. I'll even say, as well as a sneak preview, if you're a wrestling fan, you might like something we've got coming up as well.
Yes, there will be content suitable for everybody. We've even got a show just on Alan's beard, which is well worth a watch. Absolutely well worth a watch. Alan, Rangers are back, my friend. We are back. Do you know, I say this after every international break, but it feels like it's been about a month.
It does, but I think it was probably very good for a squad. I said at the end of the sort of run of games before the international break, we'd probably quite like to sort of build on the games we'd had, but I think it was good for a squad just to get a bit of a reset. And Clement said all along, we'll start really seeing the best of this team come October, and we'll get better from here.
Oh, no. Did you watch the press conference?
Not yet. I've read a lot of comments.
The manager said, and he specifically said that he was very clear. He did not say the best of the team. He said a better team than what you currently see. That is the manager's words today.
Well, that being said, is we've got to see that actually come to fruition. It's all very well he said that, but we need to see the team continue to develop. We need to see the team stick on. Domestically we were very good in that last block of games between the last two international breaks. We need to take that on and carry that on and continue. Not overly bothered by being behind Aberdeen right now. There's only 7 games played. 31 games this week to go and win it. I'm not interested in looking at second place. I'm only interested in us going and winning enough games to win the league. And that's got to start.
That's because you're old school, Al. That's what that is. You're just on old school whose just expectations are through the roof. That's your problem.
Go back 6 or 7 years and Leicester City won the league. Nowhere near the biggest spenders. It's about making good decisions and good coaching. And taking advantage when the chances are there, like we didn't do last season. But it's got to start on Sunday. Kilmarnock's a notoriously difficult place for us to go. But the manager's often said since he came in, he's used the surfaces as less of an excuse as previous managers. I don't think that he'll accept any excuses based on, we're playing on that pitch, it's no good, it's this or that. We've just got to go out and play the game. Go down there, beat Kilmarnock, move on to the next game. We've got some big games coming up in our next block before internationals next month, so we need to start with a win. We'll take whatever gain we can make on either one or both teams above. We'll see how that game goes tomorrow, but our focus has to be on Sunday. We have to go out and put on a performance, and we have to get 3 points no matter what.
Jim Sloan, Super Chat. Thank you very much, Jim. Absolute channel legend. Please watch till the end and hit that fucking like button. Thank you. Absolutely, Jim, 100% with you. And of course, another benefit of being a member is you get to come into the Discord group, which is flying, I should say, by the way. Poor Connor has taken a beating in that Discord group. There has been all sorts of T-shirt designs made in that Discord group. It's hilarious, folks. And it's probably worth being a member alone just for the Discord. That's all I'm going to say on that. Connor, Alan mentioned it there. It's never easy, is it? Going to oh God, what's your stadium called?
Rugby Park.
Rugby Park. How did I forget that? It's never easy. Never ever easy going to that stadium. I can't remember the name of.
You're a rugby fan as well. You
I'm a
really should
rugby
remember
fan.
the
That's
only
really good.
stadium in the country that's actually got rugby in the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. No, never is. Last season in particular, you've got to say that they were a headache, and not just for us. By the way, to be fair to them, they were a headache for them all across the city as well. Probably more so, but we've got to go down there and just get the job done by hook or by crook. Listen, we all know that the surface there, the plastic pitch, it is a leveller to a degree for them, but a lot of these players have been playing on it for long enough now. They should be used to it. They should be able to handle that. And I think, yes, people will say, and rightly so, every right to say that Kilmarnock are not in great form this campaign. I think they've only won one game in the league so far. That was their last game against Dundee. There was their first win. But it doesn't matter the form they're on. You know when you go there, the kind of game that you're in for. They'll make it tight. They'll make it difficult. They've got players that can hurt you as well. Make no mistake about it. If you give Danny Armstrong any kind of space, he'll punish you. He can.
You just channeling your inner Alan McCoist there. Make no mistake about it.
That I didn't even think of that actually. Jesus, I don't need any more memes, folks. I really don't. But they can do that. You've got guys like Kyle Vassell who will be an absolute handful. He's a tankier man up front. He'll be a handful for the defenders. Lewis's favourite player, Davy Watson, of course, as well. Poses his own threat whether he starts or comes on off the bench. So there's players to watch out for, is my point. But I still expect us to get the job done, because it's the one thing I would say, and somebody made this point earlier, and they were banging the banana. They said that performance-wise, we have been quite poor. But the positive of that is that playing poorly, we've still managed to get results in these kind of games thus far. With the exception, obviously, of Hearts and Celtic, but that's these kind of games against these teams in the mid-table, without playing our best, we've got the result. And so, you get a result however you can at rugby. But I think, in fact, I've talked to the guys in the panel. I always think of Rugby Park as a place where I'm actually not that bothered about the result, about the performance, as long as we get the result. Because I don't expect free-flowing classic football on a pitch like that.
Right, the pitch thing, Lewis. Right, I get it. It's a horrendous pitch, but there must come a point where you go, we can't keep using the pitch as an excuse for being poor or grinding out a result or dropping points.
Aye, there really should become a point, but there probably won't be until that pitch doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, because it shouldn't be an excuse. I agree with you. Rangers should be able to go there and dominate Kilmarnock, whether they play in gravel or AstroTurf, it shouldn't really matter. But the fact is that it's still there, and it's still an issue, and it's still causing problems, and we've had notorious injuries on it, and it is a difficult place to go, unfortunately. I agree with Connor. I think I don't really care about how we play, just as long as we get the result. And it's a big, I think it's 7 games we've got before the next international break, and I want a win in every single game, bar maybe the Olympiacos game, and that includes the Steaua Bucharest game. That should be a game that the Rangers team should be looking forward to, because we should be looking to really stamp our authority on this team. There's some really worrying comments with their manager about the fact that he's going to drop half his team because they're underperforming, and I would like a big victory then, and you hope that'll boost the mentality in the squad in general. And we've got Aberdeen in here as well, so you're hoping by the end of the next international break we are above them in the league as well.
Oh, we have to.
Can I just quickly say, Martin, there is the good news about that pitch, by the way. I don't know if people realise this. This is the last season Kilmarnock are playing on a plastic pitch. It's getting ripped up in the summer, and by the start of next season, it will be grass. So it'll be the last time that they'll have that leveller, which, thank God for that. I think all plastic pitches should be banned in the top flight.
In terms of our players, Alan, for Sunday, I say this and then I do it like 2 weeks later, and then I say this again and then I do it like 2 weeks later. Not looking for your starting lineup or anything, but are we looking for specific players to come out and show us a bit more than what they already have this season? Are we looking for performances from, let's face it, the vast majority of these Rangers players that we haven't seen yet? Considering now that that's the second opportunity that Clement's had to have the vast majority of them for a week straight, for 2 weeks training?
Definitely. And I've said before, I want to see more for Diamandi. We spent £4.5 million on him in the summer, and I want to see more for him. I want to see him grab games by the scruff of the neck and dominate games. I don't think he's done that. He's been completely outshone and outworked by Connor Barn, who cost us nothing. You know, I think I need to see more for the wide players. You know, I need to see more from Dessers, because it's got to be Dessers that starts over Igamani. You know, I'd be very surprised if it's not. Barami, I expect him to start. I expect him to do well. You know, and going back to talking about the pitch. You know, remember just after one came in, went up to Dundee. Terrible weather. The pitch has got to be bad. There was doubts about the game. It's been there was all the pyro show that had the game postponed, or suspended for a wee while with the fire alarms and off. But Clement came out and said, I don't really care if we have to play in the car park. We have to be ready, no matter our surface. You know, and I think he's the first manager we've had in a long time that's know what the players use the surface as an excuse. I think football players should be able to play on Kilmarnock's pitch, absolutely no problem. You know, I think far too much is made of the surface at Kilmarnock and at Livingston, which we're not playing on this season, but we need to go there, and you know, we need to see more from pretty much everybody in the team. You know, I think the only one that's probably the only guys that have probably been pretty consistent and good all season would probably be John Suter and Connor Barn.
The one of the biggest problems, Connor, is scoring goals, and we need to see. And I think he's been off it the last few games, and we know Dessers is temperamental, but we need to see a performance from Dessers. The situation that we're in right now, if it's not Dessers scoring the goals and Tom Lawrence isn't chipping in with a few, who is it?
Yeah, well, exactly right. I think the last goal Dessers scored, if I'm not wrong, was against Dundee in the cup. So he has had now 3 or 4 without a goal, which is a barren spell for him. But to be fair,
A barren spell, I get it.
oh Jesus! But to be fair, you know that does happen, and I think hopefully after we've had the break there, hopefully we get to see a bit out of him. I will say that Rugby Park hasn't been a kind place for him. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. The first game of last season, which was his first game in that surface, he was dreadful, absolutely dreadful. As were a lot of them, because I don't think Storgy enjoys that surface. But he did. He improved in the games later in the campaign there. So, you know, hopefully we'll get a goal tomorrow. That'd be good. Igamani's another one. Gallant points out, and I think he's absolutely correct as well. Is that
Don't give Gallant any praise on the show tonight. He doesn't deserve it.
He's right. I think he's, you know, Igamani needs a goal desperately as well now. He's had a handful of appearances. Been nice to see him getting amongst the goals. I also gathered today from what Philippe Clement was saying that Danilo's back in training and that there's a potential for him coming back soon.
No chance. No chance he's in the squad for Amora. He's back in training, which I actually forgot about, Connor, so thanks for making me look like a terrible host, because I completely forgot the manager had said that.
I don't imagine him being on Sunday, but it's the wider point of if he's back in the next week or the next weeks, which he will be by the sounds of it, then that's the other layer for Igamani to compete with, because he is the third striker behind Danilo if Danilo's fully fit. So he's got to show that he can take the mantle and being the number 2 striker. Which, listen, who knows how long Danilo will be back for before he gets injured again. You just hope this time round the issue's fully resolved and he can kick on a bit. But that's positive. I don't know. I have to ask, actually, what's the situation with Ciala? Because he seems to have just absolutely disappeared.
He's still with the B team. He's still raw. He's still got to learn. He's still not ready for the first team. Blah, 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 blah.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Does that answer the question? Does that answer
yes.
it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Final point then to Lewis, just as we round off. The one of the supposed issues, Lewis, that we have tomorrow, I wish it was tomorrow, Sunday, is that we are going up against not just a team and not just a ground that we have struggled at, but a manager who seems to have kind of figured us out. Is that fair?
I actually don't know. He's rested.
It's Derek McInnesy. We don't know who the manager is.
No, I do know who the manager is. I don't know his record with this Kilmarnock team against Rangers. I don't know how well he's performed, but he's certainly the third best manager in the league. If we're going to be nice to Clement, he's a very, very talented manager, especially in Scotland. And I think a lot of people are quite surprised at how Kilmarnock have been performing this year, because people would have thought that they would have kicked on for last season, and it's not quite happened yet. So you just hope that it doesn't happen tomorrow. But I'm just in that phase now where I'm really disinterested in anybody else other than Rangers. I just want to see progress. I just want to see evolution.
I thought you were going to say, I'm really disinterested in anybody else's opinion. Apart from my own. That's where I thought you were going with that.
No. But I just hopefully it's a nice, easy performance. Realistically, it's not going to be, but a man can dream.
And we're going to have a watch along for it, which is again for the old members, so they can watch my face probably sitting like this for 90 minutes, watching the game. That'll probably be the full watch along. So if that doesn't encourage you to sign up as a member, I don't know what will. Connor, Alan, Lewis, thank you very much for joining me tonight and for your input. Thank you to all in the comments, everybody watching, even the people who don't comment. Thank you very much for tuning in. All the people listening back on the audio downloads as well, thank you so much. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for our members. We could not do this without you. We are back tomorrow, 11 a.m. live for a random rabble. That'll be out for members. And then, like I say, Sunday we'll have a watch along. And then, of course, we'll have the reaction for everybody after the game as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for putting up with my nonsense. And I'm just going to play out with the good old-fashioned outro song. So good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.